Following items which concern reports and items of routine nature normally approved by AHA meetings will be approved by one vote unless any trustee desires to have a separate vote on any or all of the items. The consent agenda consists of discussion, consideration, and action on the following items. A, the minutes of the regular trustee meeting on April 22nd, 2025, the Finance Committee minutes, and C, the check report April 9th, 2025 to May 8th, 2025. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Dr. Brown, second by Mr. Bowman to approve the consent agenda. Any questions? Roll call?
Martin,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Burt,
Yes.
Mossberg, yes. Brown,
Yes.
Hannaford.
Yes. Item 3, CEO's report.
All right, mine's pretty short and sweet tonight. Revenue cycle, we continue to work with CodeQuick, transitioning from TrueBridge to CodeQuick. It seems to be going well. Super excited for June the 20th to get here. Expanse, Mark Almack and Reese Almack went to a Meditech conference in Oklahoma City last week. Came home super excited with all of the things that are upcoming with Meditech Expanse, the things that maybe we're not utilizing right now that we can. After talking to them, it becomes apparent that we really need to plug in as a group. There's kind of a core group that works on Expanse, deploying new things. So we're looking at meetings to attend to try to stay in the loop better. That's something that we've not done in the past with Meditech. So I'm excited to take that next step and help all of those kind of things, help our nurses and our physicians utilize the system to their advantage. So we'll be taking advantage of those things. One thing I do want to point out, labs, I was just telling Kelly that I had a doctor's appointment in the city today with a specialist, and I was interested to see if he had my lab work loaded into the computer, because I have my lab work done here, and he did not, which was not a surprise to me. We fight this issue with out-of-town practices. We fax those things. We have an automatic. So Kelly comes in, and let's say it's an out-of-town doctor. Let's say it was Dr. Burt from out of town. It gets registered, and Dr. Burt then, as the provider, the laboratory will automatically fax. It's an auto fax. The problem is, you can imagine how many faxes those practices get. So it is somebody's responsibility on the other end to make sure that that fax gets uploaded into the medical record. So the easiest thing for them to say when they don't have it at their fingertips and you're sitting there as a patient is, I didn't get it. But it makes us look bad. It makes it look like we didn't do our job. And so we have taken the time to confirm on several different occasions that we have done our part of it, that it got there. And so there's a fax confirmation. We can tell the date and time that it did go out and that it was received. What happens after that, I can't tell you. But as in today's case, my lab was drawn 2 weeks ago, and he did indeed have it in paper, in a folder that was handed to him. So he did have it, luckily today. But so many times we get the feedback that you guys failed. You didn't get my doctor didn't have my lab. So my best suggestion is that when patients are going out of town to see a specialist and have had lab work drawn here, is to swing by and get a copy of that and take it with them physically to that appointment, so that there's no question about if they do or they don't have it. That way there's no lost time. You can just hand it to them and they
No additional cost for that, just
no
come here?
additional cost, no. We'll give that to them and they can take it with them and just make it so much easier.
And they can also, if they'll get hooked up on our portal,
Yes.
they can also just have it on their smartphone as well. and not have to come by and get it. But
And we are, speaking of that, we are working on some cards that will have the QR code to be able to get to the portal if they don't have the portal and get signed up for that. So some people still don't have the portal, but it is very handy. I was just on there the other day, and super quick and easy and well organized on the new one. So, any questions about that? Surgery is very busy. Their schedules are full. Dr. Guerrera's is growing, but Hemmel's up. His appointments are up, as well as Tepper and Roberts. So that's exciting. We are looking at getting some new OR lights for the other OR suite and some equipment for that one, so that they can bounce back and forth more quickly between cases and not be here so late at night. So that is something we'll look at tonight. Housekeeping, if you've been upstairs lately, you will notice that the floors look great. We had a company come in and strip and wax those floors, and it really makes a huge difference. That's all I have on my report.
Okay. Any questions for Candace? Hearing none, do
I might have a statement. I had a procedure done with Dr. Guerrera and his staff here. Dr. Guerrera, everybody was given a 10 all the way across the board.
Thank you.
It wasn't a fun experience, but you guys did good.
Good.
I was
Well, thank you.
pleasantly pleased. Everything was there. Good
Appreciate
job.
that.
He's a good.
do I have a motion to approve and accept the Share Medical Center written report for May 2025?
I'll make a motion to accept the Share Medical Center written report for May 2025.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. A motion by Mr. Bowman, a second by Dr. Mossberg to approve and accept the Share Medical Center written report for May 2025. Roll call?
Bowman?
Yes.
Burke?
Yes.
Mossberg? Yes. Brown?
Yes.
Hannaford?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Okay. Item 4, CFO's report. Kelly?
okay, so April, there's a little bit, I'll just start by pointing out there's a little bit of difference in our reporting. We have, Jayden has done an excellent job of familiarizing herself with as Candace was talking about earlier, some of the capabilities of Expanse, and we have generated all the reports this month out of Expanse. So they look a little bit different. The data should all be there. I'll point out one thing when we get to that, but we're still ironing out some of the kinks. But April was, for operating cash, we had a balance of $84,382 at the end of the month. That represents 2 days of operating expenses. Accounts receivable was $4 million. We did decrease that by about $558,000, almost $559,000 during April from May. And it's also reflected in our days billing. Our total days were at 47.3. Of course, we're shooting for 50. So we hit that target in our last month, next to last month with our billing company. So anyway. Our accounts payable balance. This one I'm taking quite a bit of pride in. About a year ago, I've been in this position for about a year now. When I came in, that number was never under $1 million, and seldom was it really under 1.2 to 1.5, somewhere in that ballpark. Jayden and I really tried to nail, and Kayla as well, tried to nail down some good strategies in making sure that we get all of our vendors paid, and we have that number. Accounts payable balance for April was $366,000. That's down $440,000 from March, but really it's down about $1 million or more from where it had been prior. I can't tell you what kind of a difference it makes when we go to work with our vendors and try to get things done and they don't have outstanding, bills. We do have we have 2 invoices or 2 vendors that have invoices over 90 days. Both of those were set up on payment plans. So one was with SLS, who we knew their first 3 invoices would be deferred until we got our cost report settlement in 2026. So that was anticipated. The other one is with InReach, which is our surgery consultants. And that had gotten a little bit out of hand, but we worked out a payment plan with them, and we're down to on about another $15,000 to $20,000 on everything old there. And then we're really doing everything we can to keep our vendors under 90 days. And once we get everybody under 90 days, we're going to try to shoot to keep them under 60. And so that's where we're headed, and hopefully we'll get there. I can't tell you, the over 90 days total was well over $500,000, and so to get it down to where it is now, I'm really happy with where that is. It makes it a lot easier for us to do our business when that's taken care of. Moving on to gross revenue, we had another $2.25+ million month at 2.336. It was down slightly from March, about $146,000. And then our patient days in April were in the hospital 14, which is about half what it was in March. And our clinic visits in April were tracking right along about the same, 1,500 compared to 1,478. Contractuals were the big issue with this month's financials. They were about 71% of our gross patient revenue. I'm really looking forward to working with our new billing company when they get in and seeing if that is something that we can move the needle on. We haven't had much success working with the current company to figure out why some months we'll have, 30% contractuals, and then some months we'll have 70% contractuals, and not really have a significant difference in our service volumes. So really looking forward to working with Code Quick on that, and hopefully we can get that to be leveled out. Our accounts written off to collections were just under 50,000. Charity care for the month, we had just a correcting entry, so it showed a negative 35 charity care, which is a positive. So that was, like I said, that was just a correcting entry. Hospital operating expenses were $628,000, excluding salaries, benefits, and depreciation. That was a $24,000 increase. I will tell you, so wages were $575,000, which was a $27,000 increase. And I'll tell you that May, when we do the May financials, May was a 3 payroll month. So you will see that probably reflected there. Our net operating loss was $257,000. We add back in sales tax and other non-operating revenue. Our net loss was $153,000. But like I said, our contractuals were the biggest thing in the month of April. Year to date, we're still looking pretty good. We have a net income of $522,000. We had budgeted at this point to be at $310,000, so we're $212,000 ahead of schedule on our budget. And then compared to last year, we had about a $249,000 net income, and so we're about $273,000 better than we were last year at this time. So that's all important that we continue to have that, so that we can, number one, keep paying down some of those old bills, but also start getting ready for being able to handle unanticipated expenses as those come up, which we've had Pretty good run, but we know that things happen, and when they happen, we have to be able to take care of them. So, I talked about our payables. We did receive our interim cost report settlement in May, so you'll see that on your May financials. That was $584,000. And I think I didn't talk about our bad debt review. Forbes, we mentioned this months ago, but that Jaden had applied for a grant, and we got that grant, and that grant basically allowed us to have a bad debt review completed by Forbes. Forbes completed that bad debt review, and for what was recoverable, there's about $102,000 that we'll be able to recover on our next cost report for bad debt. And so we have also changed up our policies with regard to bad debt, how we keep track of things. You'll start to see that show up as an expense rather than an adjustment in our future reporting, which is a requirement from Medicare. And we'll also have more documentation of our efforts to collect on those accounts. And
We updated our charity care policy.
we updated our charity care policy. So, all of those things are you're going to see in future reporting periods, and that cost report settlement should come in when we get our 2025 cost report settlement. On the financial statements, the income statement for 6-month comparison, as well as the income statement 3-year comparison, as well as I think we've got one for budget. Maybe it's on the same one as the 3-year comparison, I think. You will see, like I mentioned, bad debt and charity care have moved down into our operating expenses. So rather than be a reduction of revenue, they will be an expense. I will point out, however, while the total net income or profit and loss, our total loss is an accurate number, if you look at the depreciation, for some reason that is calculating into the non-operating expenses instead of into the operating expenses. It can be reported in either category, but we have historically calculated it as an operating expense. However, right now, it's calculating below that and not calculating into the operating expenses. It's not coming out twice or anything like that, but we picked that up during Finance Committee meeting that was kind of an outlier in our report being completely accurate. Jaden will get that cleaned up, and hopefully it's not a glitch in the system that she can't just fix pretty simply. But anyway, that's the biggest difference. Next month, in May and June, I am anticipating that with the interim cost report settlement that we received, and not anticipating any significant changes in gross patient revenue, I really think we're going to finish the year in the black again, probably by more than what was anticipated, and probably by more than where we're at right now. So that's, you can see the stats and the other financials in there. 340B continues to outperform previous years. We're starting to see some of that come through on our outpatient side in the hospital as well. We don't get paid. We get paid for those, but we really see that in terms of cost savings inside the hospital, more so than revenue. But everything is kind of trucking right along, meeting the majority of all our marks that we're trying to. Any questions on the financial report?
Any questions? Kelly, it is good news. We look forward to closing out this year. So, okay, we'll move on to item B for the CFO's report, our FY26 operating budget and capital budget.
So we have, I'm not going to read through this this entire packet for you, but you do have the packet in your binders. Basically, just an overview of the budget process. We started back in probably late January, early February, looking at data on compensation and looking at some benefit items, and then by the time we get into March and April, we start working with the department heads, looking at specific revenue and expense items that they're anticipating, coming up in the next fiscal year. And then last week we met with the finance committee once prior to last week, and then last week, and kind of got all of the priorities lined out and penciled into all the categories to which they belong, and lo and behold, we have a budget. Wanted to kind of just go quickly over some of the priorities. Number one, first and foremost, is that our number one priority is that we're going to put a budget in front of you that is going to either be balanced or have a positive net income. So the budget that's presented here is that. It is coming in with a positive net income. We have really struggled to recruit qualified staff for certain positions. In some cases we've struggled to retain them in certain positions, and so we really put a concerted effort on having competitive compensation and benefits, and we compared ourselves to the industry in Oklahoma and have figured out a way to get us closer to what those industry averages are but we also looked at performance and then just the nature of some of our positions. Are they hard to fill? Are they, what would we do if that person was gone, and make sure that we're completely competitive so that people aren't leaving here because of compensation. We did look quite a bit at physician recruitment expenses, and we have increased our budget for that. We also looked at a lot of our deferred maintenance. Our systems in the hospital, I know it seems like, and we still talk about our new addition, but it's not new anymore. It was 2007 when we started on that, opened it up in late 2007 or 2008, and even our remodel was 2010. So everything, there hasn't really been any significant spending on the building, and some of our systems are to the point where we have to have that. I've reported in previous meetings about our analysis from Train on our HVAC system, but we also have a lot of issues, windows, doors, furnishings, a number of things that we took a big look at what all of that would be, and have proposed a budget that can help us take care of that. We haven't been terribly affected by tariffs and inflation as much as maybe might be forecasted. However, we did go ahead and put it in our budget to have a 20% increase in supply expenses. Our utilities, we know we're going to see rate increases with our electricity, so we budgeted exactly what that's going to be, and then for our other utilities, we budgeted an increase of 3% for the CPI, Consumer Price Index. We also put an emphasis, and Candace mentioned this a little bit in her report, but we put an emphasis on how can we spend money to make more money or bring more services to our community. And one of the quickest ways for us to do that is to open up our second operating room. And so there's some equipment that needs to be purchased for that. Number one, it'll drive more volume. We'll be able to see patients more quickly on the schedule, not have to schedule surgery so far out. But also it'll improve our efficiency throughout a day to be able to go from one surgery room to another while one's being terminally clean, we're performing procedures in the next one, and then just keep all that clear through the day. We think that'll spending money in surgery is going to allow us to again provide more services, but also reduce other expenses that are less efficient uses of our time and resources. Looking at adding urology procedures, total joint replacements, gynecology procedures, and maybe before we get to the end of the fiscal year, we might be doing some pain management. So a lot of opportunity for growing the surgery department, and of course that is one of the departments that when it does well, the whole hospital does well. We also, different from last year's budget, we are budgeting for a full year's worth of revenue and expenses in Senior Life Solutions, where we only have had them for a partial year this fiscal year. And then I think we've talked about some of these things. We've definitely talked about our billing contract for at great length, but there are a number of other contracts that we have either renegotiated or eliminated, or maybe we've replaced with a more efficient contract in order to meet the needs of what we're doing. We do have a couple other contracts in there that would be new altogether. One would be to assess and negotiate our third-party payer rates, so the Blue Crosses, the Uniteds, the Humanas, all of them, the Medicare Advantage plans, assess how all of them are paying in their contract, and then use some industry standards to help us negotiate what those rates should be. And, you know, clearly if we can get increased reimbursement rates, that will be money well spent. And so contracts like that, we're looking for ways that we might have to spend money, but it's all in an effort to bring more revenue into the facility in order to keep up what we're doing. Basically all other revenues and expenses we put into the budget flat with last year, or with what we're currently experiencing this year. And you know, a few minor exceptions here and there. We did, I'm going to skip to page 6 and then come back to page 4. But from a capital outlay, I mentioned a lot of our deferred maintenance items with our mechanical equipment and things like that. We've got a number of pieces of patient care equipment that are also either we can replace them due to them starting to show their age, or it's going to be for being able to expand services. So page 6 lists all of the capital equipment outlay that we've got there. If you look in the second column from the right, that priority category tells you 1 is a high priority, 2 is it's a priority but we can get by for now without it, and 3 is it would be nice but it's not necessary. So that's kind of
If I can, I'll add from finance meeting, because I asked the question. Although we have all these listed, we would still have everything would come before the board to approve a capital item. So we'll be strategic throughout the year, and it's not that we're approving to do all these things or all the ones or anything like that at once. So it's a part of the budget, but it's also will be ongoing, I guess would be the best way to say it.
well, and the thing about the roadmap, and
That's a good roadmap's good.
it is a roadmap. We, you know, if the weather comes up and we need to take a detour, we'll take a detour, you know. But, you know, with the budget, we're trying our best to forecast what the next 12 months are going to be. If we come in and we experience an increase in expenses that hadn't been anticipated in the budget, we're not going to be, unless we also experience revenue that wasn't anticipated, we're going to have to take some things out of this budget in order to get through. So this budget will make sense until the day after you guys approve it. Starting tomorrow, things are probably going to be different, and it's not that we didn't go through all of the due diligence to make sure that we had everything, but it's just things happen. And so we will continue to have to monitor our income and our expenses to make sure that we're not experiencing operating losses at the end of the day. So, but yeah, thank you, Dr. Hanna, for pointing that out. If we go back to page 4, at the bottom of page 4, that section, we are looking into our existing debt and adding to it and extending the terms in order to take care of some of these capital outlay items. And in fact, it looks like, without having finalized, and of course any debt that we take on will have to come back to this authority as well as the city council. But it looks like from a cash flow standpoint, we could afford to take on the majority, if not all, of that capital outlay that's in the budget, finance it out over a few more years, and still be able to cash flow the monthly payment along with all of our other operating expenses. So we are looking at that. As far as our debt is concerned, presently we have about $2 million in debt. Our line of credit with Community Bank is virtually zero. It's $179 at the end of April. And then the debt we had with the Share Trust has been completely fulfilled as of last November. So really we're in a position that we can withstand a little bit more debt in order to take advantage of some opportunities. We won't do this day one once we start the fiscal year. We do have to wait for the 2024 audit to be completed, which we anticipate that being around August. And so that's...
And Kelly, if we do that, or whatever we end up doing, some of that we can recoup from cost report as well off of that.
Yeah, our interest on a lot of this will be subject to our cost report. And so about 50% of our interest payment and depreciation would be recouped on our cost report over time. So, yeah, that would go into our allowable expenses.
Okay.
Other than that, I just want to take a minute and thank Jaden Lewis has been my right hand, helping to make sure that we've got accurate information and timely information to be able to make decisions and prepare these items. Maddie Perks went above and beyond with her analysis of wages and benefits across the state. She really did a great job. And then, all of our other department heads, they really have gained an understanding of the importance of fiscal responsibility in their departments over the course of the last 12 months or so. And when we came together to meet as departments and talk about the things they needed, they were very well prepared. Candace and Finance Committee, you guys have been great as well, and I'm happy to present to you the operating budget, which I guess I skipped, but that is page 5. With gross revenue at $30 million, net patient revenue at $12 million, total revenue just under $18 million, total net revenue just under $18 million. That's $17,893,925. Total operating expenses were $17,521,252. Adding in our non-operating expenses, we were at $17,888,449, and that gives us a net income of $5,476. I didn't spend any time talking about this, but there are other revenue items that we are anticipating, just not sure at what level. It's on page 2 of the packet, or excuse me, page 3 of the packet. But I think that the $5,000 net income at the end of the year is highly conservative. Even at that, like I said before, we're going to monitor it daily and monthly and make sure that things are happening as they should before we make major decisions, and use our outcomes to inform our other decisions. So, with that, Mr. Chairman, I recommend approval of the budget.
Okay. Any questions for Kelly? Again, I'll echo thank you, Kelly, to you and Candace and the team, and then I want to thank Connor and Callie. We've had some extended finance committee meetings over the last few months, so I appreciate their hard work as well. So, hearing no questions, do I have a motion to approve the FY26 operating and capital budget for the hospital?
I'll make a motion to approve the FY 2026 operating and capital budget.
Thank you, Mr. Bowman. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions? Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Bowman, a second by Dr. Mossberg to approve the FY26 operating and capital budget for the hospital. Roll call?
Burke,
Yes.
Mossberg. Yes. Brown,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Bowman.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Number 5, item 5, medical staff executive committee. We've got a couple things we'll be voting on. First, Dr. Burke, you want to cover agenda 5A, please?
So we'll need to discuss approving or disapproving stopping in-house testing of digoxin. It's a lab test that measures the level of digitoxin. It's a medication that's used in tachyarrhythmia such as atrial fibrillation. It's kind of outdated. Doctors aren't using it much anymore because we've got better drugs. The thing with that is that we ordered very few of those, but it cost the hospital a lot more to have reagents and run the test than it did on reimbursement. And so the Dr. Cook and the ER providers looked at that item and felt that we could discontinue in-house testing of that and just leave it as off-site test.
Any questions for Dr. Burke? It's digoxin?
Digoxin.
Digoxin. I'll do the best when I say that. So really no kind of testing that we'll be doing in-house for that?
Correct.
Okay.
I'll be sent out.
Okay. Any questions?
Make a motion that we approve the discontinuation in-house testing of the Johnson.
Thank you. I have a motion by Dr. Brown, second by Mr. Bowman, to approve to discontinue in-house testing of digoxin. Roll call?
Mossberg. Yes. Brown,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Burke.
Yes.
Okay, we have the, I'm sorry, let's do the first one first.
Okay.
B1.
Yep, B1 credentialing committee met and need to bring to the board the reappointment of courtesy staff of Robert Rader, MD, telemed hospitalist. He's been doing a really good job for us for hospitalist service, and he's up for reappointment.
And staff are tickled to death.
Yes,
So is that coming from a motion for you on
I
appointment?
would like to make that motion.
Okay. I have a motion by Dr. Burke. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Dr. Burke, second by Dr. Brown to reappoint to courtesy staff Robert Rader, MD. Roll call?
Brown,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Mossberg. Yes.
Okay. Following items from 5B2 to 5B7 are all initial appointments to medical staff that will be approved or disapproved by one vote. Unless any member desires to have a separate vote on any or all of the following items. Dr. Burke, I'll turn it over to you on these.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say. Some of these are telemed family medicine folks from OSU that we're going to fall back on in emergency situations where we don't have enough providers doing urgent care, etc. Those are the telemed family medicine and hospitalist, family med people. And then there's one telemed hospitalist and a pathologist. And Ryan Sand, APRN, is an appointment to allied staff, and he's going to be ER provider, correct? Any discussion or questions on those?
Any questions for Dr. Burke on that? Is that coming from the motion from you, Dr. Burke, from the committee?
There'd be a motion for 5B 2 through 7.
Okay, I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
A motion by Dr. Burke, second by Mr. Bowman, to approve all members' appointment to medical staff, B2 through B7, which is Ryan Sand, Yu Lu, Jennifer Vanderworth, Larry Atechke, Phyllis Pierce, and David Rothwell. Roll call?
Hannaford,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Mossberg. Yes. Brown.
Yes.
I didn't butcher those names too.
No, you do.
Okay. Quappy, Candace or Kelly, anything on Quappy you want to go over?
Nothing specifically, unless I can answer any questions on Quappy. I will tell you that we did get our report back from survey this afternoon. There were 4 nonconformities noted. We'll get those taken care of and report back to them within 10 days, and we shall be good to go. Nothing major, just things that we needed to maybe button up in policy and procedures, so it was a good survey.
Okay. Any questions for Candace or Kelly on that? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to number 7, improvements to patient care. Following items from, let's see, contract review, quality evaluation, anything on that?
No, it looks like they were all, except a couple of them, are being reviewed, I think, by Kelsey.
Okay. Following items from 7B to 7C are all routine policies and procedures. They will be approved or disapproved by one vote unless any member desires to have a separate vote on any or all of the following items. And that is B, discussion and action to approve or disapprove the revisions report dated April 30th, 2025, and C, the approval or disapproval of the TB risk assessment 2025. Candace, Kelly, is there anything you want to add on or discuss about those 2 things?
In the policy reviews, you can see the final review remarks in the 4th column. That just shows you the changes that were made to those specific policies. And I think that's it.
And the TB risk assessment?
TB risk assessment was just per usual. Just,
Normal yearly?
Yep, updated and signed off on.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve 7B through 7C?
So moved.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Bowman. I have a motion by Dr. Brown, second by Mr. Bowman to approve 7B through 7C in items of improvements to patient care. Roll call.
Martin,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Mossberg. Yes. Brown.
Yes.
Hannaford.
Yes. Okay, share convalescent home reports.
So, not any operating activity for the hospital authority for share. However, we are still awaiting final turning over of our licenses to Beatles. It's kind of out of our hands.
So everything's done already.
And so we're waiting patiently, but we do still have money, revenues that are coming in for the current operation, which is not our operation, but it's coming into our bank accounts, and so we're acting as a pass-through entity to get their revenue over to them. We are still having minimal collections that are from prior to December 31st. And so there's some collection activity going on, but we don't have any operating revenue anymore. A little bit of operating expenses with our consultant that's helping us with that has helped us all along with our third-party billing. And so, yeah, really not a lot to report.
Any questions for Kelly on that one? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 9, homestead report, and we'll go ahead and give us the financials real quick.
So the financials for the homestead, March did have another good revenue month, right on track with what we were anticipating based on some of the increase in census that we've had over the last few months. But $86,906 total revenue. Expenses were $73,217, and the debt income was $13,689. Not a lot, but it's good for the homestead. We do have a year-to-date net income $69,000, and it was about $41,000 last year. We again try to stay a little bit ahead of that so that anything comes up, we're able to address it. That was March. Actually, I forgot that we didn't do that last month. So March and April are in here. April was a net income of just under $5,000, and year to date that takes the total to $74,000. Again, a little bit better than what we were last year. I got to say, Tanya's really doing a super job. I get a lot of positive comments from residents and family members about how Tanya just takes care of what they need them to take care of. And so the activities programs are going well. Getting a lot of the maintenance items addressed through our maintenance department in the city, and so Homestead's really doing some good stuff. And it's evidenced by continuing to increase their census. So.
Okay. We'll go to 9A. We'll look now at the FY26 operating budget for the homestead, and this will be much quicker because there's not much to it actually.
There is not much to it. Basically, we did look at the same priorities as we did with the hospital. We're addressing compensation. We're projecting to maintain occupancy, maybe a slight increase over what we've experienced the last 6 months, because it's increased a pretty good deal over the last 12 months. So we're looking at the last 6 months as our mark for most of our revenue and expenses, and at the end of the year we're budgeting an $8,527 net income.
Any questions on the homestead budget? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the FY26 operating budget for the homestead?
Make a motion to approve the FY 2026 operating budget for the homestead.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Mr. Bowman, a second by Dr. Mossberg to approve the fiscal year 2026 operating budget for the homestead. Roll call?
Bowman?
Yes.
Burke?
Yes.
Mossberg? Yes. Brown?
Yes.
Hannaford?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Okay. Foundation report, Kelly, anything?
Foundation did award 2 scholarships for the Alva Hospital Authority Scholarship that's held with the Communities Foundation. One was for Dylan Martini, Alva High, and the other, should have wrote it down, that's a student from Winoka.
Okay.
And so I should have wrote it down. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Anything else to report?
No, sir.
Any questions for Kelly on foundation? Hearing none, I assume we have no St. Anthony's reports. Number 12, city council report. Mr. Bowman?
Had nothing to report as I couldn't attend that meeting.
Okay. And we move into the final item within the chairman's report. I've reached out to all of you. We've talked. I guess what I'm saying, unless anybody had questions from what was discussed, we can move down to item C. If there are some questions, we can go ahead and go to item A if we feel like we need to go into executive session. But nothing has changed from what we discussed with each of you on the amended contract. So, does anybody have any questions that we need to go into executive session? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the amended employment agreement by and between the Alva Hospital Authority and Candace Allen, our CEO?
I so move.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Dr. Brown, a second by Mr. Bowman to approve the amended employment agreement by and between the Alva Hospital Authority and Candace Allen, CEO. Roll call?
Burke,
Yes.
Mossberg, yes. Brown,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Bowman.
Yes.
Okay, 14, any new business? Okay, hearing none. I appreciate everybody. We are adjourned.